Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It is Friday night on TalkTV. I'm Mike Graham. For the next hour, we will be telling you exactly who has been the most idiotic person in the country, possibly in the world. It might not just be people either. And I'm delighted to say we've got a fantastic panel of people to help judge everybody this week. And it's Alex Phillips, who returns from Purda, I'm going to say. I don't know why I'm saying that. Peter Bleksley, who was never in Purda. Amanda Devlin from The Sun, never in Purda. And also our favourite number 10 advisor, formerly known, Leon Emirali. Of course, what they're fighting for this week is the plank, and there it is. And I think we should just get right to it, and straight away with Alex. What are you going to tell us about?
It's going to be a strong contender, I tell you that. It is. Costa Coffee.
Oh, my God.
Of course, this is the latest corporation, isn't it, that is sort of shoving wokery down people's throats. But it's quite sinister, because Costa Coffee have decided the best way to sell their product is to show someone with livid red scars having had their breasts lopped off. And I just don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand how they're trivialising something which is essentially mutilation, and largely these companies are encouraging kids to do it.
It's worse than that as well. Their statement from the company said that they were celebrating diversity. How are you celebrating when somebody's, you know, becoming injured or becoming, you know, less of a human by lopping off an important part of their body?
It's really sick. Instead of protecting and safeguarding children and saying, you know, this is a very adult decision to make, and we're not going to glorify it because it's a mental health condition. Gender dysphoria is a psychological illness. You know, it's not sort of, you know, something to run around celebrating like, you know, hey, I got schizophrenia, woo woo. And all of a sudden it's becoming really trendy, and a lot of young people are going down the route of thinking that they'd rather be a different gender because it's fashionable or because they're confused going through puberty anyway. And I just think these big corporations who are jamming it down people's throats are reckless. And in time, when a load of people are detransitioning, when they're suing their doctors, when they're suing their counsellors, when they're suing the government for allowing this evil to take place, these companies are going to look utterly dreadful.
By which time, of course, it will have all been too late.
It will have been, but Alex came up with a great line for the new Costa Coffee product, which could be called a Crappuccino, which lots of people thought was the greatest thing ever. But I got a lot of calls this week also from women who have had cancer and who have had mastectomies, not because they wanted to, but because that was the medical recommendation. And they're not happy about this at all. But these wokeists don't give a damn about those people. They don't even think about what the effect is going to be on them.
Right, and you know, how woke is Costa Coffee really? Because I bet they send a few African kids out to pick coffee beans in fields, and you know,
well, they are owned by Coca-Cola. You know, one of the wokest companies in the Western world.
You know, I mean, when you look at the rubbish that Costa Coffee put in their crappuccinos, their frozen crappuccinos, and then sort of sell them to kids, and they're giving people basically their entire calorific count in some
this is it. I wouldn't mind these companies sort of doing this type of thing if their products were half decent. I mean, Costa Coffee is rancid, horrible, and also if you look at that,
the fast food of coffee.
It is horrific, and you look at that picture of the advert. I mean, it's terrible drawing as well. Who designed that? I mean, was it done on Microsoft Paint or something? It's mad.
It's very odd. Peter, you've obviously already started.
What has it got to do with coffee? Why can't we just leave it like alone? I mean, 0.03% of people have got gender dysphoria traditionally, 75% being men. Now you'd imagine it's like half the world are walking around wondering whether they should be lopping off their genitals. Just stop it.
But the trouble with the wokeists is that, you know, they don't care about the actual issue. They just care about what they think people want them to be, and so therefore they go along with it. So a lot of these people who you know, they're not trans men, they're not trans women, they're not trans anything. They're just leftist wokeists who think, oh, we should like this. We should go, oh, Costa Coffee is great because it really upsets the right wingers. That's what they think they're doing, but they don't realise how much damage they're doing.
I think it's actually more sinister than this, because what we've entered in the 21st century is we don't have sort of revolution and activism coming from the grassroots up with real need. People saying, I'm being oppressed and I need to have, you know, my rights considered and all the rest of it. It's being imposed from top down. And I'm certain that this whole move to try and make everybody transgender is being concocted by Silicon Valley, who want everyone to be avatars, basically. It makes them a more useful unit for their productivity, and really cynical pharmaceutical companies, because you know the cost of the drugs they give, the puberty blockers to kids, are about 10 times more expensive when prescribed to a child as to an adult. I mean, this is just a sick, perverse money
nobody's going to be buying it. I'll tell you what, you're not going to be buying any Costa coffee anytime soon, are you?
Well, that's the thing. It'll go wrong. It'll go wrong for them.
Peter?
Because that's what happens every time. Go woke, go broke. We've said it so many times on this show that people just are against it and they will sort of turn their backs on Costa coffee. I don't know why they would... Yeah. I don't know why
I'm trying to get you all to say you're going to boycott Costa Coffee.
Yes,
Are you all going to boycott Costa Coffee?
They might, use their coffee cups as sort of replacement.
Listen, I can't say I'm going to be spotted on over Costa Coffee at some point.
Well, not if you boycott it.
Not, my friend.
I don't like the coffee. I don't like the coffee.
Go, Peter.
Don't do it.
They have a loyalty scheme, you see. If you buy 8 cups of coffee, you then get 1 free.
Yeah.
OK, I've been notified I've now got 7 beans, as they call them.
Right.
So I only need to buy 1 more Costa coffee.
Right.
It's bad timing for you, Peter, this advert to come out, isn't it?
And they've sent me a voucher to give me 50% off food. I mean, was I torn? Was I torn
No.
to get my coffee today?
No.
I went to another supplier.
Quite right.
Hey!
Very good. Well, now time for you to give us your first nomination.
Well,
the coffee's taken.
In this world of inclusivity, it's an inclusivity story. And it's by our great seats of learning, our universities, who are now ditching the expression Freshers' Week. Oh. I mean, I've never been to university to study, clearly, but I've got 3 kids who have. Yeah. And I've got a very good understanding of what Freshers' Week is all about, because I've heard a lot of it. And I think the name Freshers' Week lets young people who are about to go on that journey know what they're in for. But now it's going to be called Welcome Week.
Yes. It's not just Scotland, by the way. It's also happening in England, because University College London and King's College London have done this as well.
But now I'm going to descend the show to the level of a very bad Carry-On film.
OK.
Because other universities in other parts of the world have renamed their Freshers' Week. In the University of Westminster, OK, it's called Arrivals Week.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know a lot of young people who leave home and arrive for the very first time in Westminster University. Australia, it's the Get More Fest. Get more of what, I wonder?
More Fest.
And it's also known down under as Orientation Week or O Week.
Oh dear.
Boom, boom.
Oh.
That's not good. I saw a thing from one of these universities in Scotland where they've got a sober ceilidh as one of the things on offer.
Yes.
Now, the only thing to know about ceilidhs, if you haven't been to one, is that the music's absolutely horrendous. People whirl around, it's a dervish-like. And the only way you can do it is if you're drunk.
Right. Yeah.
So the idea that you're supposed to be sober while you're doing it is madness,
Sounds
isn't
hell.
it?
I mean, I can't remember my Freshers' Week for obvious reasons.
Marvellous.
But that was the best bit of university, let's be honest, because you go there and you just waste time for 3 years and then come out.
Freshers' Week kind of continues for 3 years.
It does really. But how is it going to stop people with it being renamed? How does it stop people from just doing the same thing?
Well, because they're offering alternatives, you see.
OK.
OK,
No more binge drinking.
Certain unis have got rock and roll bingo. Clearly with no sex or drugs.
No.
Right? Gardening sessions.
Oh, no.
Oh, every 18-year-old will be flocking to a gardening session, won't they? Vintage fairs, plant sales, and here's the real coup de grace, a trip to IKEA.
Goodness me. Why are we taking the fun out of absolutely everything? I mean, the whole point of Freshers' Week of university is you do get bladdered, you do go out there and have a good time. Why is everything being sanitised? I just don't get it.
And you have to give it a different name because that changes it overnight. You know, it doesn't change.
But are they putting the fees down, or is that still?
No, they're stuck.
Still rip you off for those. Yeah, you can guarantee
£9 for absolutely nothing at all.
It.
I mean, I know people over the last 3 years have been at university who have basically been given a degree without ever having been examined in any way, shape or form. They've never had to submit any papers. They've never had to take a test of any kind. They've just kind of gone there, or rather not gone there, because they've never actually... There's some people I know have never actually been to the university. They've just sat in their room with their laptop, and now they've got a 2-1 in geography or something. I mean, is it any wonder the country doesn't work?
Yeah, I mean, I think universities need great reform. I think most degrees should be 2 years rather than 3. I think unless you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, or something that requires specialist skills, you don't need to actually go to university. You're better out just working and learning on the job. And I do think it needs huge reform.
I've got to take issue with you there. They need to be 3 years because year 1, they leave home, get drunk and sort of discover themselves. Year 2, they become Marxists. Year 3, they get their qualification. Right. And then 2 years after that, when they've been at work for a couple of years, they grow up and realise what the real world is.
Well, there you go.
They're still doing their washing for them, right? Yeah, they still bring that home. Amanda, what's your first nomination?
Well, this is one of my favourite stories of the week because it's Cake Gate.
Yes.
It's all another one. It's all about Catherine Tildesley. Who? Yeah, that's kind of the first question.
She used to be in Coronation Street.
She used to be in Coronation Street. She left in 2018.
Right.
And since then, she's been in a series that was axed. She's not done very much. She did it Strictly, though, actually. But she was out quite early. She's got, I don't know, maybe about 700,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. And she's planning her 40th birthday.
This is a good question, though. How has she got 700,000 followers on Instagram if Alex doesn't know who she is?
Strictly, probably. Really. I think Strictly is, that's the main thing, yeah. So she's wanting a birthday party. She's got a 40th coming up, and she's got some party planners organising it all. And they're the ones who approach this small business and they ask, can we have a cake? It's 2 cakes, actually. One that's got, it's a flamingo theme, a second cake for her husband, and then 100 little cupcakes. But she wants it, the payment will be just social media posting. So Catherine will just tell her followers how lovely it was. It's free.
Yeah.
But the way it was worded, it was like, I'm going to pay you, but it'll be social media promotion, Anyway, so the bakery, the Three Little Birds, this baker just came out and just said, I'm really sad to hear that you can't afford to pay a small business. I won't be doing this. My mortgage doesn't depend on social media.
You can't pay the bills and social media likes, can you?
And she said, unfortunately, the people that make the cakes also need to be paid. And, I can't just turn around and say, don't worry, there'll be some, posts on Instagram that you can look at. But also, interestingly enough, since then, since the story sort of came out, initially the bakery didn't name her as the individual concerned, but then her name sort of subsequently came out. And another bakery has said that they were also approached by the same outfit. And she's kind of trying to make out now that it wasn't anything to do with her and that these people were kind of operating without her say-so. I'm not sure if I believe her. Let's have a look at what she says.
I mean, I hope the cake lady got the exposure she was craving. Whilst I've got journalists knocking on my front door while my kids are playing in the front room. Dead nice, that, babes. Thanks for coming.
So now she's moaning about press intrusion.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine that anyone's doing that. We're just not that interested. What's been funny is the baker, the one who's kind of had that...
It's somewhere in
she's taken power. She said, no, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to stand up for myself. Right. It's tough. Times are tough now. It's a local business that needs support.
And it's one of those non-denial denials, which is what makes it a funny story, because she's kind of going, well, I don't really know how this happened. Yeah. Well, presumably this company who operate on behalf of various celebrities must have been in touch to suggest that they were going to ask for a cake for your 40th birthday party.
Well, it's not just her, is it? I think it's these influencers everywhere that are out for a freebie. And I get it if it's something like an event or tickets to something where you don't actually have to pay for it. But for a small business, they've got to put products, ingredients into the cake, manpower.
2 sort of larger cakes.
But also, at what point did people have to need party planners? It's my 40th this year. I've just spoken to my favourite pub and said, can I have it here? And they went, yeah, done.
Did you get any free cakes, Alex? That's the key thing.
Well, no, it's not. You can go chemist in December. But no free cakes, none of that. My brother's got an 80s cover band, so he's going to play some music. And the guy who does the pub quiz said he'd do a pub quiz.
That sounds a lot better than hers.
Yeah.
She is completely backtracking now and saying, actually, no, there wasn't a 40th planned. Right. I mean, it just sounds like she's woken up and she is getting a lot of abuse because people are furious. She's looked at her Instagram and she's thought, oh God, I've done something wrong here. And she's
doing an apology video now.
Yeah, exactly.
I share her pain. I truly share her pain. I went into the boozer the other day and I said to the barman, I said, I've got 3 followers on Twitter. Can I have a free pint of lager, please?
Yeah.
And he said, we're packing.
Yeah.
Does he not know who you are?
I think the thing is, though, that there is an awful lot of this kind of stuff that goes on. Because an awful lot of people have said, I mean, I'm not much of an Instagram person either, but apparently on her Instagram, there are an awful lot of things that she sort of endorses. She's got a bag here or a dress there.
They get paid an absolute fortune per
and you
Instagram
do,
post.
once you're looking for it, you see it all the time. You see people who are going, oh, look at this lovely dress I'm wearing by so-and-so. And, I mean, are people that stupid to then go and buy one of these dresses? I mean, really?
Do you know, I did get given a free dress once when I was presenting on the channel that we do not name.
Oh, right. You better declare it.
And I actually felt really proud. I felt like I'm a model now as well. I can put that on my CV.
Is it the right size?
Yeah, it was, yes. It was a good little number, actually.
See, I never get any freebies. I think they all get nicked in the post room.
As we can see.
And stuff comes to me, right? And I just don't ever see it.
You go in Jeremy Carl's dressing room. He's got loads of stuff in there. Yeah, I was in there the other day. Got bits and bobs all over the place.
He's
Chuck's
so
telling me I should
bougie.
ask for a Lamborghini. Why would I want a Lamborghini? Why?
They're a bit
got
low.
a car. You know, you don't need more than one car in London.
I'll take it.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, Leon, back to you to bring some sense back.
Yes, well, my
freebie mad. You have a free glass of water while you...
Yeah, this will do. This is what you get here from Plank of the Week. That'll do. My Plank of the Week is Robert JENRICK, our Home Office Minister.
Or Robert Generic, as we like
Robert
to call
Generic. He was on the train and, allegedly, we should say, he was on the train and he left his ministerial
He was
red
lucky,
box.
actually, to find a train going anywhere, because there's still a works of rule.
It was cancelled multiple times,
right.
and he finally got on a train. He left his red box, ministerial red box, on the train, unattended, while he nipped off to the loo. And I worked in Westminster. These red boxes are sort of sacrosanct. They do genuinely like portable safes.
Yeah.
So they've got state secrets in there, really important documentation in there. Oh. He's a Home Office minister. He's not the minister for paper clips. He's the Home Office minister in charge of immigration, and he left.
Does it have a lock on it?
It has a lock on it. It's sort of made out of a sort of really strong material that you can't get in, and he left it because nature called and he had to go to the loo. That's fine, Robert, but bring your briefcase with you. So this has been snapped, and I think it makes a mockery of our government.
He has since declared that, or some of his people have declared that actually he just can't see him and he's not in the picture.
Right.
Like he's left it on another set of seats. Like you would, right?
Like you would. I mean, that's the thing.
Is it another non-denial denial?
I mean, yes. You're sat there, but your bag and your suitcase is on the other side of the train.
Yeah.
I don't think so, Robert.
They all think we're stupid.
Did they ever put anything else in there, like sandwich or something like that? Are you allowed to?
No, it's just purely papers. Purely papers.
You have to read everything, don't you?
You have to read everything, and you have to sign it off. You read your advice that you're given by your advisors, and you sign everything off. And I can guarantee you, in a Home Office box like that, there will be sensitive documentation that that is not for the public.
Are you actually telling me that there's an immigration policy somewhere in the country in that box?
Might not be a very good one, Alex, but there is one in there.
The box is actually full of updates on the Bibby stock, whatever it's called, Bibby stock, which they can't seem to work out is a safe place for migrants to go or not. Apparently it might go on fire. But the reason it might go on fire is because somebody who was in there might set it on fire. And you go, well, surely you would just stop them coming in with matches, wouldn't you? Or, flammable liquid. Isn't that the way to stop people setting fires? As opposed to saying it's not safe because somebody might set fire to it.
I wonder if you can smoke on it.
I'm sure you can. When they banned smoking in Scotland, there was only one place where you could smoke. And it was the first place that the ban came in, and that was in prison. So you could go to prison for smoking, where you could smoke.
That's a real addict, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Into prison.
But that is absolutely incredible. But it's not been a great week for the government, has it? I mean, we could talk later about Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer and all of the kind of Just Stop Oil stuff. But I mean, the government have not covered themselves in glory again.
No, I mean, we've had the alcohol duty, which the Prime Minister is trying to spin as being good news for drinkers, but in reality, alcohol's just got a lot more expensive, especially if you're drinking at home, and I think that Rishi, the poor guy, is jetting off to California. He's going to Disneyland to get a break. I'm not against politicians having a holiday.
Is that where he's going? He's just giving away a state secret, I think.
No, I think it's in...
He's going to Spain.
That was in the red box.
Yeah, no, it's in the public domain now. He's going to California, which his advisors did keep quiet for
But he's got a house there, hasn't he, in Santa Monica? He's going to visit one of his many houses.
Home from home.
Coming up, we're going to be talking about somebody who used to be on Countdown. You might not be surprised. And also, yes, that man, Sir Keir Starmer, who's removed the word Sir from his Twitter for some reason. This is Plank of the Week, back after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We've already had 4 pretty good contenders already, and we're only just into the show, but it's time for me to give you my first nomination. And it's been a long time coming, this one. And I want to say it's Carol Vorderman, who used to be on Countdown, who used to be hailed as a sort of maths genius, who used to be also hailed as a relatively kind of fun-loving, TV presenter. She used to do Pride of Britain. That's when I first kind of, found out about her and got to know her a little bit. And she was always very pleasant, very kind of, hail fellow, well-met sort of individual. She suddenly, in the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, turned into this mad anti-government troll on social media, where basically all she does is, breaking news, the Tories are all lying, incompetent scum. And you're kind of going, OK, and I mean, it's perfectly OK to not like the government. It's perfectly OK to kind of, have a bit of a go at them. But she seems to have joined the sort of Alistair Campbell-inspired, Gary Lineker, James O'Brien brigade, who all sort of viscerally hate the Tory party and think they're all evil, nasty individuals.
Yeah.
And it's quite incredible how this transformation has taken place. And there's all sorts of pictures of her, bizarrely, with her formerly good friend Michelle Mone, Lady Moan, who's now sort of in disgrace because she's left the House of Lords and everybody's trying to find out what happened to all the money that she may or may not have sequestered for her and her family. But, you know, I just find the whole transformation of Carol Vorderman to be odd, and she's doing some very odd things. So, for example, this week she posted pictures of herself doing exercise in her kitchen. Let's have a look at this, see what you make of it.
I do this all the time in the kitchen.
I mean, she says she does that all the time in the kitchen.
Why? What does that do?
Why don't you just cook things in the kitchen? Most people.
What's wrong with her?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, she's got also, I mean, just looking at her Twitter feed, even just as we speak, right? Article on Boris Johnson, the great crested newts. I think that they're going to be called nasty lefty woke lizards by the end of the day. What would you call them? And then she talks about, you know, breaking news, HSBC profits have more than doubled, latest poll, grim reading for Tories. You know, it's just odd, I think, and I don't understand why. I've been told the reason is that she's had a falling out with Michelle Mone. But there's pictures of her with David Cameron when he was the Prime Minister, because she did a maths initiative for him. There's pictures of her laughing and joking with Boris Johnson. There's pictures of her with loads of pictures of her with Michelle Mone.
Matt Hancock, I think she was...
Matt Hancock, she was pictured with at the racing. She said that was a setup. But, you know, she's spoken at Tory party conferences. I just find it all very weird. In addition to which, I suppose the other reason she's in there is because she also does a show on BBC Wales every Sunday, a radio show. And nobody as yet, apart from one Tory MP, has said, sorry, she works for the BBC as well. How is it that she's able to slag off the government literally constantly all the time? And nobody can answer that.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think she's become indoctrinated, isn't she? And she obviously gets a couple of likes, gets a couple of retweets on Twitter when she posts something critical about the government, and she's become addicted to that. And I just think it's an indictment on the way in which we have public discourse in this country. You can't just have a reasonable debate. You have to hate the Tories. You have to say they are evil. You can't just, you know, for sure, slag off the government, but it doesn't have to be in such visceral terms.
But it's obviously, you know, there is... And then she started doing, just before the last set of by-elections, she started promoting this website, which was tactical voting, how to stop the Tories winning in every seat, and, you know, promoting it as if it was sort of her website. I just find the whole transformation very weird.
It's sad, actually. I used to quite respect her as a kid watching Countdown.
I mean, I've had her on my show talking about...
who can do all those sums.
And I've had her on my show talking about, during the pandemic, she helped kids to learn maths with her website, and she gave it to them for free. All of that, you know, and she's suddenly turned.
People, doesn't it? All of a sudden, some of them, they go totally the wrong way, like Britney Spears, and it's like, OK, you've just become a narcissist to such a level, you're probably going to be on my you're going to die next year list that I make every New Year's Eve. And Carol Vorderman seems to have done that. She was at one point a normal person on Countdown, and she must have had some work done, because she's now the wrong aspect ratio, isn't she? She's just like...
Well, there's a lot of that.
Maybe it's that exercise she's doing in the kitchen that makes you like...
Must be all that. Must be the
doing 50 of them tonight.
I think it's the inciting hate that I really dislike about it, because
and that's what I've always said is wrong.
Have your opinion, but she's trying to drum up. I mean, she picks out Tory MPs to make her followers all send them really nasty messages. It's not about telling them about change or something like that. It's all about being horrible to them.
And instead of like sort of having a go at Rishi Sunak for suggesting that, you know, maybe exploration of the North Sea is a bad thing, she talks about his family had some deal with BP, you know, before this was all announced, you know, suggesting that there's a great deal of corruption going on, which if there is, then somebody should write it in a newspaper. And people have said if she feels that strongly, maybe she should stand for election, I think
she wants to become Baroness Vorderman. I reckon that's what's going on. She thinks she's doing Labour Party a favour and they're going to stick her in the Lords.
Just as you would expect, we've got another clip to show you of Carol Vorderman, and this is her not doing Countdown, not being a Tory hater, not doing any exercise, but doing something completely different. Have a look at this. That's her killing a share song.
What's that, the Rocky Horror Show?
I mean, well, yeah, you might have called it that. Very well said. I think that was Stars in Your Eyes when it was on a while ago. But yeah, a woman of many parts, and I don't like the latest one, I think is what I'm going to say. No. And I wish she'd just go back to being Carol Vorderman, you know, who wasn't a nasty, horrible, Tory-hating woman.
It's just becoming too erratic.
Yeah.
And I think you just can't take her seriously anymore. It's just too much. It's just spiralled out of control, and she's just let hate completely take over.
It's very weird.
A lady of a certain age, perhaps with too much time on her hands.
Very possibly so. Very possibly so.
No, there's not. She doesn't have too much time, because she's spoken openly on This Morning that she's got multiple boyfriends. Special friends, she calls them. So she's got 5 at the same time. So I don't know how she has the time for that.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody has the time for it.
Does she shower in between?
Alex, who have you got for us? Speaking of hate.
I've been waiting for this one. It's not even a good news hook, but I've been wanting to do it for so long. It's got to be Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
I despise him.
Do you?
Viscerally.
Why?
Because he's just the most cretinous, weird, deranged, awful excuse for a human being on this planet. I mean, so Andrew Tate...
Him and Carol Vorderman make a nice couple.
Yeah, I know. Andrew Tate this week has said something unpleasant about Amanda Holden always getting her kit off, which I kind of think fair play. I mean, he does this whole, like, you know, I'm a man, look at me. He's a fantasist. He says he's the world's first trillionaire. And I'm like, dude, you've got an aircraft hangar in Romania.
Yeah.
You can't even afford a 2 up, 2 down in Luton, you sado. And surely the age at which you sit around, you know, engaged in constant onanism in front of a laptop screen should finish by the time you're about 17. Do you know, being a man is about taking
He is under
responsibility.
house arrest, though. He can't do anything else, can he?
Oh, it's just, well, no, but that's kind of what he makes his money from, isn't it? I mean, he's just horrific.
I'm gonna defend Andrew
Here comes
Tate,
Andrew
right?
Tate.
Because
Well, that's because you
He's
look
here
like
right now.
Because you are the Andrew Tate lookalike.
how many Bugattis have you got? You know, as I do. But listen, I swear to God, I get mistaken for Andrew Tate. We were out once, and these 15-year-old, 16-year-old lads came up to me, asked for some selfies, and I thought, oh, they must see me on Plank of the Week. They must watch a lot of TV. I went back and said, oh, did you see that? They were taking selfies with me. She said, yeah, it's because you look like Andrew Tate, not because they've seen you on TV. So I do get it a lot. I agree with you. He's not a great guy to look like.
I'm sorry, but what makes a really good man, a strong man, is a man who looks after his wife, his children, who's a hunter-gatherer, who's got responsibility, or be a school governor. You know, those are the qualities we want in our men, not some person who, you know, at the age of whatever he is still having milkshakes and, you know, protein gym things and, you know, sitting around in
See, I thought you were a
bottoms.
defender of free speech. I thought you didn't care what people did or
Yeah,
said.
free speeches. I hate that. I just hate him.
All right. Well, you know what he's going to do now? He's
disgusting.
going to give you some of the same treatment that Amanda Holden got. Because what he said basically was that she should put it away, didn't he? He basically said you're a wife and a mother, rather like you, very traditional.
I'm not a wife and a mother. I'm just nominating him for existing.
Tell us what you really think, Alex, about Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
I cannot. He's him and the Kardashians. So he should have their heads lopped off, be put on spikes outside the Tower of London, because they're the biggest degenerates in society.
And he's the one that's influencing
everything.
all these young teenagers who end up growing up to be exactly like him. So we're going to have Andrew Tate multiplied.
If I knew who he was, I'd have an opinion.
Yeah, there you go. Well, listen, luckily for you,
Him.
Peter, apparently she doesn't like him very much. Who's your next nominee?
It's Keir Starmer.
Excellent.
Yeah. He's
somebody we all love to hate.
Yeah, he's been in the papers this week because Labour had some research done into crime figures, and of course we all know they're catastrophic, with barely anybody getting charged and criminals ruling the roost and all that kind of stuff. But Keir Starmer said one of the ways in which he's going to solve the chronic shortage of detectives, and there are 7,000 detective vacancies in the UK.
That's a lot of vacancies there.
And as a former detective, this is something pretty close to my heart.
Just start working again?
I'd love to, but sadly they...
The country
I don't think they're not having you.
Be sorted if you were back.
Yeah, I mean, I check the letterbox every day to see if they're sending me one of those letters.
Right.
You know, please come back. But they just missed me off the list for some reason.
They got
Lost
your
in the
address
post.
wrong, yeah.
Yeah. So in order to make up the shortfall, Keir Starmer reckons that they are going to entice people with specialisms in cyber, for example, and IT. You know, those kind of rather well-paid professions where to earn 60 or 70,000 pounds would not be unheard of.
Yeah.
He's going to entice all those specialists to join the direct entry detective scheme.
Right.
So immediately they will at least halve their wages, then have to work early, late and nights, weekends, bank holidays, including possibly Christmas Day.
And also do something other than just staring into a computer screen, presumably.
I mean,
they'll go out and do any detecting.
Yeah, they'll be queuing round the block, won't they?
Because this is also the week, don't forget, where shops are being told, if you have any kind of problem with burglary or shoplifting or anything like that, we'll send you your own DIY kit, a detective kit, which is brilliant, isn't it? So you don't have the police coming around anymore. You just do your own sort of Columbo job.
Yeah, well, you see, uniformed cops for decades have hated the CID. And they've decimated the role of detective, and they've reduced it to being... On a divisional level, working in a sort of sausage factory kind of thing, prisoner in, prisoner out. And consequently, nobody wants to do that job, whereas really it used to be the best job in policing.
Yes.
And, of course, direct entry detectives is an absolute pile of nonsense. It's been around for a few years and it's repeatedly been shown to fail because you can't just pluck somebody off the street who's watched 2 episodes of Vera and think they're going to become some top-notch detective within a couple of weeks. It doesn't work like that. I was having a chat, very nice young fella, just a couple of weeks ago. He's part of the direct entry detective scheme, the pile of nonsense that it is. And he said to me, he said, Peter, I wish I'd gone in the traditional route as a PC, learnt my trade, asked for, hopefully got moved into CID. He said, because under this system, it's failed me, it fails the organisation, and most importantly, it fails victims
Also,
of crime.
it sounds like the Acme detective school, doesn't it? It's something you'd get out of Tom and Jerry. But I'll tell you what we've got for you, Peter. We've got a new Metropolitan Police recruitment video. I want you to have a look at it and see what you think. See if it's going to bring anybody into the organisation. What are they doing here?
They're frightening criminals.
Dear God. I mean, there's more pictures and video of police dancing, singing.
Really
you know, they're at the Pride March 1 minute. You know, next minute they're sort of, you know, on skateboards with Extinction Rebellion.
They'll be on Strictly next.
Yeah, well, I just don't get it. I just honestly don't get it. Surely you join the police because you want to arrest a few bad guys, don't you?
Well, the police doesn't really know what it is these days. It doesn't know whether it's everybody's friend and let's all be fluffy and lovely or whether it's a crime-fighting organisation.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Anyway, very good. Coming up, we're going to be going into the music business with Amanda, and then we're going to talk about some Boris building as well. That's Boris Johnson, of course. And then later on, I'll be deciding who it is that is actually going to win Plank of the Week. This is Talk TV. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. This is Talk TV. It's Friday night. So, you don't even have to do any judging. We do all of that for you. I don't know whether I'm going to be the winner, or whether it's going to be one of these lovely people who are sitting next to me on my left. But it's now time for Amanda Devlin. Your second nominee, please.
Beyonce.
Wow.
Which I think I might get a lot of backlash.
I don't think she's ever been nominated
everyone
for a
loves Beyonce, and I do love Beyonce. Not as much as everyone else, because I think she's a bit overhyped, but she is a kind of queen of our era. She's just, I mean, her body is incredible. She can sing, she can dance, she can do it all. But she's actually charging a complete fortune for fans to go and see them. Not just in the seats where you get the spectacular view, but in a seat that is completely behind the stage. Right. You can't see a thing, it's listening only. And she's charging these tickets £122 for the privilege.
Listening only?
Listen. So you're kind of a little bit further back from the stage to the sides. So you can't see her at all, unless she maybe steps right. You know how sometimes they have that stage that goes right along? So she might come out and do a little dance. That's it.
Just stick the album on. Stick the album on.
Well, I was going to say, couldn't you not just stand outside the venue? Because it's usually pretty loud. Yeah. And you could just hear it there, couldn't you?
I mean, I've sat in a few restrictive view seats at football grounds over the years. You know what I mean? Yeah, and you've had to do a bit of that and a bit of that. And occasionally the ball goes so high the top of the stand cuts it off. But never just
this
like
is just listening.
A listening only.
Yeah. And how much does she charge you for it?
Are you a big Beyonce fan?
I can't say I
122 quid.
Yeah. And listen, you know, she's married to Jay-Z, who is a billionaire.
They
so
don't
she
need
hardly
the
needs
money.
the money, does she? Yeah,
and I think
that.
it plays into like a bigger sort of debate about this, where they're pricing people out now. I mean, I think the sort of cheapest ticket is like, what, £50 for you to
Everything's
get
got
in.
like that. I just wanted to go to the theatre the other day, and you can't get a theatre ticket now in London for under about 75 quid, and that's the one where, you know, it's listening only, isn't it? But everything from sports matches to the theatre to concerts, no one can afford it.
And then you wonder why people
can't go. But except you say that, but you try and get tickets for things and you can't get them. I don't know where all this money's from. I mean, all these people who go to these kind of summer festivals, it's about 200 quid for the weekend. They're all rammed.
Mike, you should join Just Stop Oil, because they get tickets for everywhere.
They do. Yeah, very true. But it is extraordinary. I mean, you know, that's why I think there's a sort of an undercurrent of people who go and see these tribute bands because they can afford to go and see them. You know, we're going to see a tribute band with David Bowie. It's 25 quid instead of 200 quid. And I think there's a growth market there. But I think. I remember thinking the first time I thought this is getting ridiculous was when Madonna played Earl's Court, which is so long ago that it's now been demolished. But, you know, Earl's Court as a stadium sort of concert venue, and it was 80 quid. And I think there was something, and I suddenly went, blimey, because it had gone from sort of 25 to 40, and now it was 80, and now it's 200. Isn't it? Just for an ordinary ticket
it's
to
totally
go and
unaffordable, especially in these days. And it's a shame you don't want to people just be spending all of their money on their rent, bills. We've got to have a fun time. Even if it's once a year to go to your favourite person.
When somebody like Beyonce's playing in London, or it will be the same with Taylor Swift, you know, it's all anybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Anybody under the age of sort of, you know, 26, they're all going, oh, I just went to Beyonce. Or did you? Oh, I'm going tomorrow. You know, everybody's doing it. So they've all got money.
But it's their fans who have got them to where they are, and yet they don't seem to repay them. You know, they make them go onto websites for, like, say, Taylor Swift recently. It was, I don't know if you were one of the people who were going on trying to get tickets, but I couldn't even be bothered because there was just queues and queues and queues.
Well, you know, there are some who say that they're treating their fans badly, but Cardi B, who's another one of these very, very well upholstered women who sings now. And I say that financially, not in any other way. She was doing a show the other day, and somebody threw a drink at her, which probably was very annoying, but have a look at what she did.
Would you love that plank if I did it right now?
Well, if somebody, I might actually. Well, you want to play it again? All right, and he wants to play it again. But, you know, the thing is, if somebody throws something at you on stage, you don't really know what it is. It's a bit like when John Prescott... It's a bit like when John Prescott got the egg in the back of his neck. He didn't know what it was. He thought he could have been bleeding.
Acid or
he punched the guy.
Yeah. What's quite interesting is she's throwing the microphone,
yeah,
and yet the voice
music
is still
plays.
in.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
This is where people suddenly discovered that, oh, maybe it's not so live as we thought it was.
Yeah, right.
It's all getting quite tense now, though. I'm really enjoying all the drama because they've now filed, the person in the crowd has filed police charges.
She's got a good throw as well.
Really good.
Left-handed.
So I think...
Southpaw.
I think there's going to be big trouble ahead for her. But also, that mic has gone on auction for like $25,000.
Did the woman keep it?
Yeah.
Well, the woman, I think the woman in question who got hit by the mic, she's reported it to the police, and the police are now investigating whether they should charge Cardi B. So the lesson is, if you're on stage, don't throw anything.
Waters is different. I think because it's in the song lyrics, it says to throw something. I'm not a massive Cardi B fan, but it's something like where she was kind of just getting into the song, The Fan. It's completely wrong that she threw water onto her. I think she was just very excited. It wasn't malicious.
Well,
whereas Cardi B
clearly never been to an
was,
Oasis concert where they used to get bottles thrown at them from the crowd.
Oh, God.
I was at an Oasis concert in Glasgow once, and they were like, "Look, if you don't stop throwing the bottles, we're going to walk off the stage."
No, but they did. I went to a gig once. One of my favourite bands is James, and they're in Manchester, and Liam Gallagher's other group were playing just before, and people were chucking these bottles. My mate from Manchester was like, "Oh no, you know what it is? People use them to go to the toilet in and then lob it." And I'm like, "That is the most disgusting thing."
It's not nice.
I've ever heard.
Nice. Okay, anyway, from the sublime to the ridiculous. Leon, what's the next one?
So Edward Church, who is I think he's a geologist or he's an eco guy at Boris Johnson's local council. And Boris wants to put a swimming pool on his home.
Yeah.
And he's not allowed because Edward Church has said that the great crested newts could be destroyed as a result of Boris putting a pool in his back garden. Now, nothing against protecting nature and all the rest of it. Not a geologist, an ecologist, I should say. Nothing against protecting nature, but this is a wider issue because we don't build in this country. And the reason we don't build in this country is because of the bureaucracy we've got with these types of things where, you know, a tiny little one animal or a couple of animals might get harmed.
It's always the great crested.
It's always the great crested. Why are they cropping up everywhere? I've never seen one.
Well, because
they're built over, aren't they?
Well, no,
because layers of cement.
They're a protected species. But I mean, do you suspect that Mr. Church may just be making this up because he doesn't like Boris Johnson?
He may well be.
And he's going to go, well, you know, there could be some newts there.
I did see one, I promise.
You actually can't. I mean, there are. I mean, I had some newts once in a pond. And I dug them out and put them on the side of the pond, and they all died.
But
because
this one,
they were in the water.
but
nobody came and arrested them. Maybe they will now.
Yeah, he'd love the pool. He'd love the pool.
Sunbathing, having a little swim.
It's good for them.
It's
good for them. I mean, they tell you to put a pond in your back garden to attract wildlife, so I'm sure the pool's no different. It's just a bigger version. So
if it's got Boris in it will have wildlife.
Look, he's going to attract a different kind of wildlife, won't he? But, I mean, I also had a situation similar to this. When I lived in Wiltshire, there was a stream that ran through the village that I was in, which got completely flooded 3 times in a week because the farmer who lived somewhere up the hill had decided to plough his farm and all the water had run off. Anyway, the council came and they said, look, we can't dredge this stream. And I said, why is that? And they went, because there's water voles in it. And that was the end of that. And they said, well, we should be able to dredge it, because if we could dredge it, then everything in the village wouldn't have been actually flooded. And I said, well, what if I shoot all the water voles? He said, oh, yeah, we could do it then. And you're kind of going, this is the sort of madness.
It's just classic bureaucracy,
Well, would you rather have a flooded house or water voles in a stream?
I don't know. To be honest, I've got a cat. She'd sort that out in no time.
Yeah, well, we didn't have one at the time. Anyway, so... this guy wants to stop him. So what's Boris going to do about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess
Does he have any grounds for appeal?
He can appeal it, yeah. I mean, I think this was part of the consultation, so he can then go on to appeal it. But if you actually look at the consultation, it was a public consultation. And obviously, people found out it was Boris Johnson who was making his application. So there's quite some funny names in there that people have put in, taking the mick out of Boris during his time as Prime Minister. But, you know, this
is another problem that people like Carol Vorderman are propagating, is that you could build up this sort of hatred of an individual like Boris Johnson, and he'll probably end up having to move abroad.
Yeah, well, it's like Nigel Farage loses his bank account. Yeah. Boris Johnson can't be allowed to build on his own property. And why is it? Because they're all politicians who hold a right-wing view. Yeah. And I just think that is wrong, that people are being essentially persecuted for political views. And you're right, it is hatred stemmed up by the likes of Vorderman and others that's causing
this. Being a Brexiteer should be like a protected characteristic, because we're like, honestly, we're more discriminated against anybody.
I mean, maybe the Newts are Brexiteers, for all we know.
Of course they are.
You know, they might actually quite like leaving the European Union behind.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming up, we're going to talk about some more animals. They're not in the Tory party this time. They're actually in a zoo in China. Or maybe not. This is TalkTV. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. This is, of course, the one show where you don't have to do the judging because we do it for you. And we've got one final nomination, which I think actually is my favourite story of the entire week. And it's about a zoo in China, in a place called Hangzhou. I'm not entirely sure if... I know two of you guys have lived in China. I don't know whether you've ever been to Hangzhou Zoo. But they've been accused of using humans dressed up as animals, which is so bizarre, is to even, you know, just make you smile as you are doing. Let's have a look, first of all, at the first clip. We've got two clips of this particular animal, which is apparently a bear from Malaya. People have been flocking to see it in their thousands because people are suggesting that it might not actually be a bear, it might be a man in a bear suit. Have a look. There it is. It's got a very saggy looking bottom, right? But apparently, according to the zoo, they say that it looks saggy at the back end because apparently it's a particular type of bear. It's called a sun bear, apparently, and they're known for looking a bit sort of, you know, human-like. And they're apparently the reason for the saggy bottom is that if predators get a hold of it, it can somehow switch around inside of its skin and fight the predator off. That's
switch around.
Well, you know, like if you had loose skin.
Or take off his bear costume, you mean?
Well, possibly. But this is the official explanation.
I'm a man, leave me alone.
This is the official explanation from the zoo, who was saying, no, it's definitely a bear. And nobody can decide, because some people look at it and go, do you know what? Well, it could be a bear.
Less of the nobody can decide, thank you.
Okay.
Because I am uniquely positioned to comment on this, because at the age of 10, my primary school did Jungle Book for the end-of-year play.
Right.
And, of course, I was the king of the swingers.
Okay.
The Jungle VIP.
Yeah.
I reached that top and had to stop, and now it's bothering me, right?
Very good.
I'll stop there.
You've not forgotten it.
Okay. So, of course, I was a very early bear impersonator at an early age, and many people that saw that performance still remember it and have come to me for advice. And I can exclusively reveal that bear is actually my mate Dave from Dove.
Actually, I'm told, Leon, you've been to this zoo.
I've been.
He does look suspiciously like the Hofmeister bear, for anybody who remembers the Hofmeister.
Well, I've been to that exact zoo to see the pandas, and I remember saying at the time, no joke, this is about 10 years ago, and I said, that panda looks just like a bloke in a suit. And now this story's come out, and I'm now guaranteed that was not a panda I saw, it was a bloke in a suit.
It was Fred from Forest
It was your mate, it was your mate.
There's definitely been situations in Chinese zoos before. There's a picture that I saw this week on Twitter of a golden retriever done up like a lion. had one of those kind of lion's manes on. But, you know, it was a dog, and you can clearly see that it was a dog.
As someone else who's lived in China, if there's one thing that China's famous for, it's fake markets.
Yes.
They sell fake everything. So why wouldn't you have a zoo with people just pretending to be
And I'm told
animals?
they've also been known for painting donkeys black and white so they pretend they're zebras. And I guess if you're living in China and you don't get to travel outside of China and somebody tells you that's a zebra, you're not going to say, I don't agree.
Because they've probably eaten all the real ones.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's very weird. But we've got another clip, which is another clip that was sent out by the zoo to prove, by the way, without a shadow of a doubt, that this bear is in fact not a man in a bear suit. It's a real bear. So have a look at this one.
Hello.
It's Dave.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting irritated now.
The fact that
It's Dave.
The bear is waving, right? The bear's waving.
Yeah.
People say to me the bears do wave. These sun bears are particularly sort of human-friendly. And it has got a very unusual face. I mean, I don't know.
He's on £2 a week, he is, for that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if he's seen lurking around Boris Johnson's swimming pool, then I think there's reason enough to deny the planning permission, isn't there? Because that's
absolutely
a bit too much.
right. But I mean, it's an extraordinary story because it has kind of captured everybody's imagination. Because I haven't found two people that have agreed with me that either it was. Kevin O'Sullivan, in fact, said that originally he thought it was definitely a bear. When he saw the second clip, he went, no, definitely not a bear.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, Dave's on a 6-month stint out there. He's 2 months into it. When he comes back, can he come on the show?
Well, listen, why not? And also, only if he comes in dressed as a bear, though.
The real bear.
Obviously, that would have to happen. But, you know, the thing is, obviously, the zoo's now making an absolute fortune because people are flocking there from all over China to go and see and have a look at this bear and see for themselves.
If it is a man underneath there, he's going to be so overworked now. He's there every day. Just
Excuse me, did you just say if?
Sorry.
Because they can't decide. You can't decide.
I've decided.
You know, I'd love to see.
nomination-
At the end of his shift, he's got a cigarette and he's just sort of got a beer in his hand.
Well, that should be the next clip.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
Bear smoking. Or being chased. But anyway, the nomination is for the zoo. And I think that, you know, that is a pretty good nomination. But I'm going back through all of the stuff that we've got here. We've got some very good nominations. But I have to say, I think, just because it is peak wokery, and that's what we're up against, it's going to have to be Costa Coffee, I think, isn't it? Alex Phillips always thinks this is like some kind of personal victory, eh?
I want it to be Andrew Tate more, but I'll take Costa.
You want it to be Andrew Tate, but you can't always get what you want.
I still won, didn't I?
You try something. No, it's a collegiate effort. It's not about you winning. It's about us. There's Costa, the winner.
Give me that plank.
Absolute planks of the week. There you go. Nobody here is ever getting any more coffee from you, bozos. Neither are most of the people in the country. So we look forward to the day when you walk into the next petrol station and the coffee machine isn't made by Costa. It'll be from somebody else. Anyway, thank you very much indeed. Alex Phillips, of course, Peter Bleksley, Amanda Devlin, and Leon Emirali. Welcome to Plank of the Week. Thank you very much indeed. Coming next, it's me, the world according to Mike Graham, right here on TalkTV. See you next week.